Hey everybody, it's Charlie. It is July 12th, Sunday. We've had 8 years of the Bush administration attempting unprecedented power grab in this country, and we saw that with the Patriot Act that just like current legislation isn't read and passed, and we find out later that more of our civil liberties have been infringed upon. And the mantra of this administration has been transparency, transparency, transparency. I mean, that's what we heard pre-election, post-election, and still can hear. Even Bernanke was testifying recently, talking about how the Federal Reserve is, their desire is to have previously unseen levels of transparency. And I just want to take a minute and point out the absolute ridiculous lie that is Washington, D.C. I mean, there's no transparency happening whatsoever. I mean, even less now than there was in the last administration. These people are absolutely interested in furthering their own agenda only. I mean, and that's not to say there isn't some good people in the House and in the Senate, because I think that there are. But you can have a few good people in the midst of the 535 that run this country, these elected congressmen and senators, and they're absolutely powerless to do anything. They can shout from the rooftops, but when the corrupt are in power, when the corrupt are controlling committees and controlling the legislative bodies, these people are marginalized, ridiculed, made fun of. They receive zero credibility on any of the mainstream media, and their good intentions will just wither and die. And I've said in videos before about Ron Paul's H.R. 1207, I love Ron Paul, and I love that bill, but I cannot see the Federal Reserve ever allowing themselves to be audited by us lowly masses. And I want to talk a little bit about what has happened in the last 4 or 5 days. Senator Jim DeMint has tried to attach an amendment to H.R. 2918. H.R. 2918 is a $3 billion appropriations bill in the Senate. Now, Senator DeMint tried to add the wordage or the text of S604, which is a carbon copy of H.R. 1207, Ron Paul's bill, to this appropriations bill. Now, the problem came when Senator Ben Nelson from Nebraska stood up and said, point of order, I would like to bring up Rule 16, which says that legislative amendments cannot be added to an appropriations bill, which in a nutshell, that's Rule 16. Well, the House or the Senate president then said, all right, point of order taken, the amendment is dead. And then Senator DeMint spent the next 8 minutes listing amendments in that exact H.R. 2918 that were legislative in nature on an appropriations bill. And then he asked the president of the Senate, are those in violation of Rule 16? In which she said outright, yes, they're in violation. Yet they're still attached to this H.R. 2918. And at the end of it, he brings up the most glaring outrage, which was that the actual senator who protested the adding of this wordage to this, the adding of this amendment to H.R. 2918, Senator Ben Nelson, he has the only earmark in this piece of legislation. It's $200,000 for a museum in Durham, Nebraska. And, he's the one that's up there on behalf of Ben Bernanke, I'm assuming, getting this amendment shot down. So I'm gonna with this video include a link to that video that shows Senator DeMint posing these questions before the Senate. Now, and also, I want just so everybody is clear, HR 1207 is still in the House. Barney Frank has it on the back burner in committee right now, but it's still in the House, and it still has overwhelming support in the House, and will most likely be voted on and sent to the Senate. So by no means is this thing dead, but this does go a long way in showing what kind of roadblocks it's going to be running into. And the irony of it is, this is supposed to be the transparency administration, and as you can see, it's no more transparent than the last administration. So the games continue. Again, I say that the Federal Reserve will not allow itself to be looked at by us mere civilians. I mean, they're just not going to allow it. Bernanke says that it will have undue or untotaled devastation to the economy if they're reviewed. So, I mean, it's just a blatant threat. You try to audit us, we're going to crash it. So, anyway, that's all I got. Hope everybody had a good weekend.